A very good evening to you and welcome to RTV News with me, Fiona Mbabazi. President Paul Kagame this afternoon participated in the 5th meeting on Europe-Africa relations alongside other heads of state and government, where participants discussed strengthening the partnerships between Africa and Europe.
In Africa, we are engaging with Europe with a view toward taking the relationship to a higher level and making sure it is adapted to the times we live in today. For one thing, Africa has assets and capabilities to offer to the partnership, both human and material. Let's not ask what can be done for Africa. The guiding question should be, what can Europe and Africa do together for mutual benefit, which neither can accomplish alone? The reference point is the Africa-Europe strategy approved at the joint summit in Abidjan in November 2017. The goal is to have an instrument that structures the continent-to-continent relationship in 4 key areas: trade, peace and security, migration, and climate change.
Now, the president here explained that this will pave way for mutual benefits and accountability.
Agreeing on this framework should be the primary outcome of the next Africa-Europe summit. We aim to change the terms of engagement on trade and investment. The African Continental Free Trade Area is now entering the implementation phase. This opens up new opportunities for more attractive cooperation with the partners who are invested in Africa's prosperity. It is therefore important to ensure that the space to properly and fully implement the CFTA is respected. We wish to negotiate the future trading rules on a continent-to-continent basis, not in a fragmented or haphazard manner.
President Paul Kagame this Wednesday called on all institutions to increase the fight against corruption and injustice in the country, as these are hindrances in the development and social welfare of the citizens. The head of state said this Wednesday during the swearing-in ceremony of the new ombudsperson, Nirere Madeleine.
This ceremony was held at the village Rugwiro. Nirere Madeleine takes his chair after serving for 8 years as chairperson of the National Commission for Human Rights, a position the president said complements the ombudsman's office. As we all know, injustice and corruption are amongst the things that impede Rwandans' rights, destroy the social fabric, and slow down the country's progress. We want to fight this, and we have institutions tasked to do just that and equipped to deliver. We need to see them working and implementing their mandate as they should. In this fight, all our institutions complement each other and should work together in everything. No institution can replace another, interfere in its duties, or contradict it. Shortly after taking the oath of office, the ombudsperson Nirere Madeleine said she was ready for the office and will play her role well in the fight against corruption and injustice.
Just as the President of the Republic has reminded us, corruption should not be tolerated at all. That's the reason why fighting corruption should start from the grassroots level, so that they too are not afraid to speak out. When a citizen knows their rights and what is expected of them, then they will have a choice and a voice in speaking out any injustice they face, because they come first and we cannot develop when they are not happy. Institutions are also expected to fulfill their duties well as we work together to empower the citizens and the development.
Rwanda comes top in fighting corruption in the region, in Africa and globally. Corruption Perceptions Index 2019 report by Transparency International indicates that Rwanda leads this index in the region with 53%, comes fourth in Africa and 51st globally. President Paul Kagame added that even though Rwanda is doing well in fighting this vice, no one should be complacent. In particular, the Ombudsman's office should put more efforts in educating Rwandans about their rights, help them understand the laws meant to protect them, and the institutions that they can run to. When you compare our country to others, we are not doing bad at all. However, we should not be complacent. Instead, we should put in more efforts in what we are doing right and say what's not going right. That means we have to intensify our fight towards eradicating corruption and injustice for once and for all. 52-year-old Nirere Medlin becomes the fourth ombudsperson since the establishment of the office in 2003. She is a holder of a bachelor's degree in law and a master's in public administration and international human rights law and criminal justice. She is the former chairperson of the National Commission for Human Rights, among other roles.
The outgoing president of the East African Court of Justice, Dr. Emmanuel Ugirashebuja, says for the past 6.5 years that he worked as the president of the court, he put first the interest of the East Africans.
It will be a wastage of time for any partner state to try and influence anyone on the mere fact that they were nominated by that government. Because we sit as 5 judges in the appellate division. I think in the first instance it's 6 judges. Even if, for argument's sake, you think you can influence the judge from your own partner state, it is impossible to be able to influence the other judges from other partner states. So it's a wastage of time if you wanted to try that. And all judges, including the president, when we sit and deliberate on these cases, everyone has only one voice or one vote. So there's no way that political interference can be done. Even if you wanted to try it, it's wastage of time.
Now, on the 30th of November 2020, Dr. Emmanuel Ugirashebuja resigned as the president of the East African Court of Justice. Although he says there have been significant changes during the 6 years that he's been ruling as president, he says among the challenges being faced by some of the EAC bodies is the issue of limited resources.
That there is a bill which has been passed by the East African Legislative Assembly on the autonomy of the court. The judges themselves are very independent, I can tell you this, in terms of the judicial work that they do. But you need administrative support in order to be able to deal with the cases, because if you don't have financial autonomy, then it's very possible that the finances can be controlled by someone who wants to influence the work of the court. So that's why it's important as any court to have autonomy in terms of finances and administration. Not that it will affect the judgments of the courts, but it's important so that the activities of the court are not hampered when any of the parties is not happy with the judgments of the court.
Of course, that was Dr. Emmanuel Ugirashebuja, who is the outgoing president of the East African Court of Justice, telling us some of the challenges that the EAC body faces. Now, an assessment by the Transparency International Rwanda on the Auditor General's report indicates that embezzlement has reduced when it comes to the public funds. However, this body emphasizes that public funds must strictly be used for the benefit of the citizens.
Transparency International Rwanda assessment on the Auditor General's report for the fiscal year 2017-2018 shows that in all districts, 3.52 billion Rwandan francs was embezzled or mismanaged. In the year of 2016-2017, this was at 6.76 billion, meaning a reduction in the embezzlement or mismanagement in the public funds. On the other hand, 228 billion Rwandan francs, which is about 37% of the total budget, was mishandled as by the procurement law. Although the mismanagement of funds is still noticeable, this has greatly reduced as per the 2016-2017 fiscal year that stood at 238 billion Rwanda francs. Executive Director of Transparency International Rwanda, Apollinaire Mupiganyi, explains that even though there is a reduction in the misuse of the public funds, no coin should be unaccounted for.
Tugeranije n'ingengo y'imari ukuntu igenda izamuka mu by'ukuri ntabwo.
According to the rate at which the national budget is increasing, one can say that this issue has completely stopped. Every cent must be used and invested to benefit each citizen. The 3 billion, which was last year's budget, is a large sum of money which would have funded various projects in our country. Another major source of these issues mostly comes from the illegal tender procedures, which are disguised in the name of mere mistakes in the execution of projects, yet the money has been embezzled. This is why we need laws that govern the tender procedures so that we can easily trace those who committed tender irregularities, or which organizations did, or which local official committed the crime. This is why we need to clarify this.
Icyo cyaha niyo mpamvu ubuvugizi nk'ubu ngubu turadukora twifuza ko bisobanuka.
Among the issues discovered during the assessment was the 349 days overtime payment of employees at the Vision Umurenge program. Concerning this issue, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Local Governance, Samuel Dusengiu, says currently the percentage rate of the invoice paid on time in VUP is at 96%. He also affirms that there is more to be improved concerning the usage of the national budget.
Bijyanye no gukererwa kwishyura abarwemezamirimo bakoze akazi.
On the issue of overtime payment of employees, some contracts couldn't be found together with some accounting documents. We've also faced an issue of delayed tax reports due to some difficulties in the computer systems that are used, as well as difficulties in the capacity of local government to assess issues and find the solution. Some of them have been held accountable for public fund misuse, while other issues require assistance from the different administrations. As you've heard in the meeting, different administrations are willing to work together so as to solve most of these issues. To a point, I think the current assessment will show some of the issues that have already been solved.
Twizeye ko muri audit iri gukorwa ubu ngubu ubugenzuzi bukorwa ubu ngubu haze bizagenda bigaragara ko byakosowe.
Capacity building of employees among the grassroots leaders and participating in the implementation of various projects are among the solutions mentioned that could see an end to this vice. Jane Mutoni, reporting for RTV.
Citizens across the country have launched a practice of collecting ideas that will go towards the district performance contracts in line with the 2021-2022 budget. Now, in assemblies of the people from different villages across the country, different ideas were gathered with the aim of getting key issues related to the capacity that will enable them to be implemented. Roads, hospitals, schools and markets are among the top wishes of the people of Kigali as some of the keys to accelerating development and welfare.
Uyu murenge wacu wa Gatenga nta mihanda bigaragara.
This Gatenga sector has no paved roads, which is one of our priorities as all other people that live in a city. The other thing is to make it possible for our children to make short trips to school. We have a health center. We need qualified doctors who provide us with the best care possible.
Bafite ubushobozi ku buryo baduha serivisi neza.
Ikintu twifuzaga cyane cyari umuhanda none batubwiye ko
What we needed most was a road, and now they told us that the World Bank is going to make it possible for us. Here in our area, people with a low capacity engage more in trade, so if they would find the market for their goods nearer to their children, it would be a great thing. Another thing is that we also have the youth who need a youth center with the internet and a place where they can meet and learn about the culture.
ibintu bya internet rukiga ibintu by'umuco.
Muri Busasamana dutangiye gutera imbere.
In Busasamana, we started to thrive. We started to get cars. It would be better if they got us better roads and walkways, and it would help our products to reach the markets.
Imyaka yacu yaje igenda ku buryo bworoshye.
Now, via phone interview, the Minister for Local Government, Professor Shaka Anastase, explained more on this practice.
Kubegera harimo kugira ngo tuganira nabo bamenye n'ibizabakorerwa.
This citizen outreach is for them to know what is being planned for them, but the most crucial part is their role in implementing some of these things, working hand in hand with the government. In the previous years, we discovered that the role of citizens in the district's performance contracts, planning and the budget wasn't that appealing. For example, in 2015-2016, where all those were at a rate of 40%. But currently, starting from last year, it has progressed, seeing it not below 50%. Before, we used to receive their requests, but never returned back to inform them that what you asked of us, we only managed to get 50% or 60%. So today's practice started with showing them the ideas they gave us during the signing of performance contracts with His Excellency the President of the Republic, showing them those that we managed to work on and included them in performance contracts, which all these are generally at a rate of 60% and above. This is a very crucial thing for them to also understand their role, so the whole of this month till 2nd of January next year, we give an opportunity to anyone willing to share any idea in all villages and sectors across the country.
Now, the United States Embassy in Rwanda, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, have officially inaugurated the Kimihurura Primary School in Kigali City, which includes built and renovated classrooms. Now, construction activities were at a cost of 400 million Rwandan francs. It is also funded by the U.S. Military's Africa Command. It is an event that was hosted by the U.S. Ambassador to Rwanda, Ambassador Peter Vrooman, and the Minister of Education in Rwanda, Dr. Uwamariya Valentine. U.S. Ambassador to Rwanda, Peter Vrooman, expressed his satisfaction with the opening of the school and the partnership it is building in terms of Rwanda's education developmental programs.
Education is the foundation of knowledge. Our children want to study despite the fact that there is an ongoing pandemic. So today, I am honored to inaugurate the Kimihurura Primary School. U.S. Military's Africa Command funded this school, which will enable children with disabilities to be able to study properly. Soma Umenye program by USAID has provided different schools all over the country with millions of books, which will enhance the children's knowledge.
Now, the Minister of Education in Rwanda says that these classrooms will help reduce the overcrowding of the children in the classrooms.
The number of students is definitely not small, but the schools were also really old due to the fact that they were built in the 70s, which is very understandable. You can now see that there have been some added classrooms. Even though it took some time, you can see that the kids are studying properly and it is not too clustered. In the Soma Umenye program, there are books that were distributed in different schools, which means that if the books are available, they should be able to be used. Our kids should grow up knowing their mother tongue, how to speak it, as well as writing it with English as well. What we can do is to encourage the students and teachers to efficiently use those books in order to effectively reap from them. We are very grateful for this contribution, but we also hope that we can grow with it, because if we only rely on it, it won't get us anywhere. There is already so much to do, including the school's contribution as well. The most important thing is to keep the preventive measures of coronavirus, of course, but remembering to invest a lot of energy in their studies. We already lost a lot of time due to the pandemic, so we need to put in a lot of effort to reach our set goals.
Now, the principal of the Kimihurura Primary School says this gift has come at a needed time. On behalf of the entire news team that made this news possible, thank you very much for being part of us. My name is Fiona Mbabazi. Have yourselves a lovely evening and a good night. And do remember that you play an important role in flattening the COVID-19 curve in the country.